This was the headline from the Rocky Mountain News in Colorado on July 6th, 1978. Disabled snarl traffic in protest.
The 74-year-old has been living in this nursing home for 11 years, first on private insurance, now on Medicaid.
They wanted to be able to ride the bus in Denver just like everybody else, even though they used wheelchairs. They wanted to be able to ride the bus, especially because as taxpayers, they were paying for it.
It's really scary because you don't know what's going to happen.
And expected to grow 6% a year from $389 billion now to $650 billion in a decade. Slowing the growth of Medicaid is crucial to saving it.
We need that in order to make the program viable and to deal with these massive deficits and the mounting debt that we have.
Many people that are perfectly middle class or even upper middle class when they retire, by the time they find themselves 80 or 85, they've spent down and they don't have any funds.
In Denver the very next week. Same kind of protest happened in San Francisco. Again, this simple demand: let us ride the freaking bus. We're taxpayers. We pay for it just like everybody does. Make it accessible for us. We are citizens. You also saw similar protests in New York City. You saw similar protests in Washington, D.C. You saw protesters in wheelchairs turn up at particularly relevant national conventions like the American Public Transit Association convention.
They feel they've been isolated from society for too long. They want more opportunity for education and jobs.
The world not knowing what blind people can do or people with disabilities. I helped to found in 1972 the Center for Independent Living, and we helped to pass the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, and the program that made sure that people who were in wheelchairs and couldn't do stuff for themselves as well as they would like could hire their own personal care attendants. My name is Jan Brown. We are getting our interview.
You know my name.
Talmadge Wells.
Yeah.
T-A-L-M-A-D-G-E.
Yeah, she's a salty
Well,
cow.
yeah. 67, and he's 65. I was a kid back in the dark days before they knew about premature birth. The thing that they did is to put us in incubators and give us too much oxygen, which messed up the optic nerve, but nobody knew that. I was just a little kid, a little baby, minus 3 months or so. Anyway, and he was born with his blindness as well, but they don't know why.
My name is Pat Townsley, and I'm 52 years old. I believe Congress should pass a law to protect health care of disabled Americans. Medicare, Medicaid is a quarter of what Americans use. However, I think there need to be some guidelines around what the definition of disabled is so that these programs don't get slaughtered with people who may or may not have actual disabilities and actually need the coverage.
We agreed on the need to free Americans from Obamacare's mandates, and policies contained in the discussion draft will repeal the individual mandate so Americans are no longer forced to buy insurance they don't need.
Tonight, President Trump and House Republicans are celebrating what they are calling a major victory. Today, the House passed by a whisker the GOP health care bill.
The gains that we've made are there. 20 million people have health insurance that didn't have it before. The uninsured rate is the lowest it's ever been. The rise in health care costs since Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was passed, have been at their lowest rate. It is true, theoretically, that all that progress can be undone, and suddenly 20 million people or more don't have health insurance.
Save Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security without cuts.
This bill has even more Medicaid cuts than the House bill. Why is the president going back on his promise?
We are trying to get Medicaid back to its original moorings.
Kellyanne, I don't see how you can say that the more than $800 billion in savings is not cuts. And
if, which is not going to happen, Anderson, but if the bill passed today in the House became law, thousands of Americans would die.
So the House passing the bill was a major step toward repealing Obamacare. And obviously Republicans were thrilled. You know who wasn't, though? Almost everyone else in the country. Turns out only 17% of America supported the House bill.
One of the members of Congress said yesterday, if you have Medicaid today, you're going to have Medicaid tomorrow and things are going to be fine. But that's only partially true, because beginning in 2020, there are going to be major cuts to Medicaid. And people who have gotten coverage through the ACA may lose it, and people that have had coverage through traditional Medicaid may lose it as well.